Does Eckhart or E.T. recommend meditation as a way to kind of quiet or silence the ego?
It's beautiful. Now meditation, there's many forms, as you know, of meditation. The one that can be the most powerful is going within. And the simplest way to do that, if you're not familiar with it, is just pay attention to your breath. The breath is the most beautiful piece to bring us aware of the body.
So the breath is the guru, the teacher, and the mind and the body are the students.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And do you meditate yourself?
Absolutely. I even use the movement of everyday life. So for example, if a phone rings, instead of picking it up right away, I'll let the first ring be there to bring my consciousness to one short, quick breath that brings me present. Then the second ring, and the rings move fast, and the second ring, I'm present. And so rings
I do
work.
something similar, but for different reasons. I look at the caller ID to just so I can know who's calling.
That's good.
That's my pause. Now, what about using like meditation in the context of a marriage or a family with children? You want to say a few words on that?
Sure. I have two sons, two stepsons. One lived with us before he went to college, and we use meditation often. Not necessarily where you close your eyes and you be still, because a young man in his teenage years, being still is a difficult thing. So we would use it in acts of doing something. When he's tying his shoe, can you pay attention to it? You know, when you're making dinner, can you hear the spoon stirring in the pot? So we would bring the attention to the act of what we're doing, and that actually brings us into meditation because it takes us out of the mind, which is always dancing in future or past.
And what about, let's say, with a couple, a husband and wife, you know, besides, how about like sitting silently together?
Oh, that's beautiful. We have, one of the things Eckhart loves is gazing. And so he often talks about the power of gazing, that when you share that with someone, it just takes you away from the form and into a higher place or a more deeper place to be together. And so to do that, even for a short while, like 5 minutes or a few minutes with your partner is amazing. And there becomes a different interaction that isn't through language or anything else that you do in your everyday life together.
Now, you've had some other teachers. Let's see, you've had the Dalai Lama, which I understand you met the Dalai Lama.
In Vancouver, Canada, Eckhart and the Dalai Lama were together.
Did you get a chance to cook for them?
No. I used to cook for Eckhart, but no, I didn't get it.
And Greg Braden?
Greg Braden, that's right.
And a Peruvian shaman.
Yeah.
Now, how have your relationships with these other great spiritual leaders influenced you?
Well, just deepen what Eckhart offered me. So what these beautiful teachers offer are different perspectives. For example, Greg Braden comes from a science background. So he will bring in our universe, our planets, and our nature, and just how we're so interconnected. And he does it so beautifully by the way science, which is measuring. And so we get to kind of see that there is a great oneness to everything. So even though he's not teaching like the Dalai Lama or Eckhart, he still teaches the same message, but in that science influence. The Dalai Lama you can just sit with and you've had enough. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need words.
Yeah.
It just, you float, and it's beautiful because he is so pure in his truth. One of the things he shared that I thought was so beautiful is to know that all emotions, the anger, the jealousy, and all of that, everyone has, even the Dalai Lama. The difference is the Dalai Lama, if the jealousy comes up, it comes up and it's down.
Yeah.
If the jealousy comes up in the average person, it comes up and we play with it for a couple of days, and it can create issues in our life.
Yeah, well, I did read the Dalai Lama's book, Art of Happiness, twice, and it's interesting he calls it the art of happiness, meaning that the longer we practice the art of happiness, the better we get, like the longer you practice the art of design or painting or sculpturing, the better you get. I once interviewed a guest, a Catholic priest, I can't remember his name right now, but he's since passed on, and you know, he sent me his book before the show and I read it, And I said, oh, your foreword written by the Dalai Lama. And he says to me, he says, I asked him if he ever meditated with the Dalai Lama. And he says, oh, sure, all the time. We teach classes all over the world. And he was just so humble about it.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
This is what's so beautiful about these people.
Well, and so you've had the good fortune to study with some magnificent teachers. What have you learned since as a result of your great teachings?
Well, when you start to gather all this and you learn within yourself and shifts happen in your life that appear out here so much better than they were, a love for, you might call it, giving back happens. And so my desire to offer groups and classes of some of the pieces that I learned, and the simplest thing is that in our everyday life, everything that happens, even if it seems that it's not so good, has a deep learning to our soul. And then when we tap into that intuitive wisdom that we are, that wisdom starts to come into our everyday life. Like you shared about the ego, if the ego is there all the time, it doesn't give us a chance to have that wisdom. So it's a good thing.